When I was 34, roughly 8 years ago, I had an unusual job as a security personnel at a cemetery located in a seedy part of the city. The cemetery's eerie atmosphere was accentuated by its surroundings, necessitating a constant watch to deter troublemakers. My shift typically ran from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., offering some solace in not having to endure the dreaded graveyard hours. However, one ominous day, whispers of unsettling figures lurking around the cemetery reached my ears. These mysterious visitors were reportedly showing up at odd hours, leaving everyone on edge. Assigned to the evening shift, I had to brace myself for whatever the night had in store. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, my coworkers departed, leaving me to grapple with some ominous silence that settled over the graveyard. It was during these solitary hours that the strangeness began to unravel. The shadows deepened, casting an eerie ambiance over the tombstones that stretched like a haunting sentinels. Between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., I cruised around the cemetery grounds collecting discarded remnants of the living among the resting souls. In the midst of the mundane routine, my heart skipped a beat when I sensed an unsettling presence. Glancing around, I noticed a group of figures across the road, their gazes fixed on me with chilling intensity. The hair on my neck prickled as I realized that these were the very enigmatic visitors that had been the talk of the graveyard. The clock ticked towards 8:30 p.m. as I secured the front gate, my nerves still tingling from the eerie encounter. A sense of foreboding hung in the air as the last vestiges of the daylight faded into the abyss. From my vantage point, I observed the group in the distance. Their hushed murmurs seemed to carry on in the wind, casting an unsettling spell. As the night deepened, I heard an unnerving sound, a discordant symphony that echoed through the tombstones. It was a sharp, jarring noise that sent shivers down my spine. The darkness seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, obscuring any source of the disturbing sound. Braving the enveloping darkness, I maneuvered my golf cart towards the distant figures. Their silhouettes remained motionless, like specters awaiting their cue to haunt. My heart raced as I parked the cart, keeping a watchful eye on the enigmatic movements. Suddenly, they shifted their attention towards me, a collective gaze that bore into my very soul. Summoning my courage, I inched closer, my voice quivering as I urged them to leave. A grotesque discovery awaited me, a freshly dug patch of earth and a malevolent presence armed with a shovel. The moonlight cast eerie shadows as tension escalated. Just as my unease peaked, an abrupt cry pierced the air from behind me. The figures scattered in a frenzy, one veering off in a chillingly different direction. Attempting to give chase, a sense of dread washed over me when I discovered my golf cart was sabotaged, its tires slashed into silence. Panic consumed me as I called for help and retreated to the main building, my heart pounding in synchrony with the ghostly whispers of the graveyard. When the authorities arrived, the mysterious trespassers had vanished, leaving behind an unsettling tableau of abandoned burial site and a body bag, its contents obscured in the depths of darkness. Days later, the sinister truth emerged. The bag contained remains of a gang member, a chilling testament to a crime concealed within the very heart of the graveyard. Yet the enigma remained. The identity of the shadowy figures eluded capture, leaving behind an aurora of dread that transcended the realm of the living. The cemetery, once a place of tranquility, became a haunting stage where the lines between life and death, fear and reality blurred into an unsettling nightmare. "5 years ago, when I was 30, I worked at the graveyard shift as a security guard at the remote cemetery. The job was mind-numbing. I spent hours alone in a small building watching the property through cameras. One Saturday night, I relieved my coworker and settled in, armed with a cup of coffee to stave off the drowsiness that often plagued me during these shifts. Around 3 a.m., as the silence weighed heavily, an unsettling sound cut through the stillness, a distinct creaking of metal emanating from behind me. My heart raced as I swiveled around to see the door to the building slightly ajar. A chilling draft crept in. Dread settled over me. The coffee's effects suddenly overshadowed me. I approached the door cautiously, my hand trembling as I pushed it open wider. Outside, the night was a canvas of darkness, punctuated by the eerie glow of the moon. My breath hitched as I heard a soft rustling, like whispers in the wind. Unease gripped me, and the isolated cemetery took a sinister aurora. As I retreated back into the building, I couldn't shake off the sensation of being watched. The cameras provided a distorted view, amplifying the isolation and paranoia. Minutes stretched like hours as I kept my gaze fixed on the screens, an unspoken fear clawing at me. Around 3:30 a.m., the footage flickered, then distorted before going black. My pulse quickened, my fingers fumbled for the phone as I dialed 911, my voice quivering as I described the situation. An unsettling dread settled over me, the ominous void of the camera feed amplifying my anxiety. Moments later, the screen abruptly came to life, showing a figure ambling through the cemetery. My heart pounded in my chest as I observed the man's erratic movements and his disjointed and unpredictable path. He paused intermittently, his gaze fixated on something unseen, his motions erratic and unsettling. The dispatcher's voice on the other end of the line was barely audible over the pounding of my heart as I watched the figure on the screen. Suddenly he stopped, his head snapping towards the camera as if he could see me on the other side. An electric chill raced down my spine, freezing me in place. Without warning, the man sprinted towards the camera, his face contorting into a twisted grin. Panic surged through me as he vanished from the screen, the sound of footsteps growing louder in my ears. Adrenaline surged through my veins as I backed away from the door, my mind racing with terror. The thuds of footsteps drew nearer, the atmosphere heavy with an otherworldly presence. My heart pounded in my chest, drowning out all other sounds. Just as I felt an icy breath on my neck, the lights flickered, plunging the room into darkness. The oppressive silence was broken only by the sound of my ragged breathing. My phone clattered to the ground, its glow illuminating the room as the lights struggled to come back on. The door rattled violently, an unseen force determined to breach the barrier. My mind raced, desperation clawing at me as I searched for an escape. The lights finally flickered back to life, revealing the empty room. The door remained closed, the oppressive tension lifting as swiftly as it had appeared. I was alone once more, the sense of dread dissipating, leaving behind only questions and unshakable unease. When the police arrived, they found no trace of the mysterious man. The cameras have malfunctioned, leaving behind nothing but a distorting sense of foreboding. As I continued my shifts, the memory of that night remained etched in my mind, a haunting reminder of the inexplicable and the unknown. Was the figure a living being or a wandering soul? Could it have been a mere trick of the mind, or did the cemetery harbor secrets that defied explanation? In the eerie stillness of the graveyard, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had brushed against something beyond our reality. Amidst our foolish escapades and carefree nights, the graveyard beckoned to us like an eerie enigma, tempting us to tread its shadowy paths. As the night cast its inky blanket, we embarked on our venture, unaware of the terror that awaited. Our usual antics never reaped any consequences, but this time, the graveyard was a realm apart from the mundane. The dim lamplight offered only feeble glimpses into the darkness that surrounded us. Yet it was all good and fun, just a test of our bravery, we thought. Little did we know that this escapade would be vastly different from our previous misadventures. With the clock striking midnight, most of our friends retreated, leaving only me and Jan, seeking a thrill to shoo away our boredom. Our minds swirled with uncertainty and our hearts pumped with both trepidation and excitement. The graveyard loomed before us, its gates offering passage to the unknown. A plan was absent, and our steps led us deeper into the heart of the resting place. Little did we realize we were about to uncover an ominous secret concealed in the shadows. Walking among the gravestones, a chill shivered down my spine as Jan halted abruptly. His gaze was fixed on a distant figure, a silhouette standing beside a tombstone. Dread clutched our chests, its icy fingers tightened their grip. The figure's presence remained shrouded in obscurity, casting a foreboding haze over our adventure. Frozen in our tracks, a voice pierced the silence. The figure addresses us with an eerie calmness, inquiring about our purpose within the sacred grounds. Unnerved by his presence, our feeble explanations tumbled out, revealing our aimless exploration. The man's response was unexpected as he instructed us to follow him, his aurora veering from authority to something far more unsettling. We obeyed. Unease settled in the pit of our stomachs, amplifying with each step. Shadows danced on the periphery, melding with our own growing apprehension. Guided by the man, we ventured further into the labyrinth pathways, senses heightened and hearts racing. Yet beneath one lamplight's feeble glow, reality cracked open, revealing a sight that ensnared our senses. A man clad in tattered rags, an enigma of sanity. Panic surged, and instinct urged us to flee as his crazed countenance met our gaze. Panic guided our steps, propelling us away from the abyss that he seemed to embody. In the breathless pursuit to escape, our pounding hearts kept rhythm with the man's relentless pursuit, his ominous footfalls echoing in our ears. Leaping over the fence that marked the boundary between safety and the unknown, we were consumed by fear. The last vestiges of this malevolent presence seemed to linger as we raced home, our hearts still racing, our minds grappling with the horror that had unfolded. For years we shared our chilling encounter only with close friends, shrouding it in secrecy due to the unlawful nature of our escapade. That fateful night, the graveyard unveiled a sinister aspect we could have never anticipated. A homeless wanderer, deranged and dangerous, had emerged from the shadows to shatter our illusion of playful exploration. Though we vowed never to return, the question lingered. Had we unwittingly ventured into a realm where darkness thrived, or had the man himself been an embodiment of something more sinister?